Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of BassQuest. Today we're going to be talking about something that's really been on my mind because this time of year, every year I hear the same things. Dock talk, in the tackle shops, at the tournaments during weigh-ins, on YouTube videos, everyone's talking about how tough it is to catch fish late summer, August, going into September, early fall. And it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of times, in order to catch these fish and to be very consistent, you just have to change yourself. You have to think outside the box of conventional bass fishing and the way that you want to fish and kind of suck it up, pull out that fairy wand, and find a way to catch these fish. I myself am a super, super stubborn person. So I can't tell you how many times I've found a school of fish. Maybe it's a community school, maybe it's a school that I found myself. And Chickamauga is that's my home lake, and it's very highly pressured. And so you get back there, and it might take me 3-4 days of consistent going out there and just beating my head against the wall, using everything that I've got, going back to the house, taking tackle out, putting new tackle in to go back and find these fish. And I'm happy to say a lot of the times I've figured out a way to consistently catch them. And the cool thing is, once you figure it out, a lot of times that technique will hold for a little while and let you be consistent to where you can cycle through some baits that maybe nobody else is thinking about and get a few bigger bites out of that school. Because like we've been talking about in the last few videos, a lot of the thing that we're trying to do here is we're trying to use something that no one else is using and try to weed through as many fish in these schools. It might be 100 fish. Well, you might have to catch 10 fish before you catch that good quality fish. So we're going to weed through and try to get as many fish, as many bites out of each school that we come across. So talking fall transition, most people think about one on the 10. So talking about fall transition, especially on the Tennessee River system over here, most people are thinking about one, a drawdown on the lake. So the lake water level is falling to winter pool is what we call it. Two, a water temperature changing. So the temperature is dropping as you get into the fall. And then three, bait fish migration. The bait fish are going to push back as that happens. And four, the bass are going to move shallower. They're going to get dirt shallow eventually. But at this very beginning point where we are now, we're at the tail end of the summer. And so you've got a ton of fish, like we talked about, that are schooled up, but they're visible. They're blowing up on bait, and they are starting to push what I would consider shallow, like mid-depth, and they're staying in an area where they can, consistently come up and blow up on bait. They're staying somewhere between 4 and like 12 foot of water. These are the schools that I'm talking about, and everybody's found them. Everybody knows about them. So we're going to go in there and we're going to change things up, change mindset, drop down line size, go to some things. So if we go over here, boom, I'm going to change my view real quick so you guys can see. We're going to do some map study in a second, but just hold on. The last few videos that I've posted over here, with the exception of the big swim bait video, have been related specifically to sneaky techniques that I use in these schooling fish, because again, they're beat up all the time. So let's think outside the box. No one thinks about throwing a flutter spoon. No one thinks about throwing the Seville Magic Swimmer anymore. A jerk bait is another one, especially if you get really sneaky with your jerk bait. So I'm going to continue this theme, but before I got any further, I really wanted to kind of get into the map study, because I've been talking about these schooling fish for several videos now, and I want you guys to know what I'm talking about. So when I'm talking about that, we'll zoom out here. You can see this is Grasshopper Creek on Chickamauga Lake. Most everybody knows about this community school that's right at the front end here. And you can see we got a secondary channel. We got a travel route, secondary channel coming in. We got the main creek channel coming in. This is the first place that those fish are going to set. And a lot of times they just set there most of the summer. And then eventually they're going to tail their way back and the school will break up and they'll be back here. But right now they've been where they're going to be, or where they have been this whole summer, or at least a good portion of the summer. And you're just going in there and you're trying to time it correctly. So there's several things that we want to look at here that are specific to that. One is timing. We need to know about what time these fish are their most active. Typically what I've noticed with these kind of schooling fish is first thing in the morning. Obviously you have a window. You have a window right before dark. But there's also a midday window. And a lot of times that's in that like 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock range when these fish will really pop off again. And you can get over there and get them at their most active, because again, pressured, right? They're pressured fish. So we want to catch them at their most active so that we have the best chance. If we're trying to find these fish, if we don't already know where community schools are, say we're on a lake that we're not familiar with, the big key there is to fish fast. It's the hardest thing to do, but when you get to a new lake, to just pull in there and actually ride around, especially during prime time this time of year, pick an area that is like this. So here's one, we see here, the mouth of a major creek. We're going to go down. This is another big time community school, mouth of Eldridge, South Point. You see a trend here, secondary channels, main channels moving in, the ends of flats. These are where fish are going to school up this time of year before they start to make that migration. Happens at Sail Creek. Another one here, it's really, everybody knows about Bear Branch. Same thing, looking for inside turns on these points where current can flow across, and that's what's really great about this, and I think that's why these fish stay here even during the hardest part of the summer, is because this current that gets in these channels, especially the main creek channels that come out, and then of course let's see, go back to Grasshopper, these secondary channels that push down through here. That's a secondary channel right there. That's a secondary channel right there. Those allow that oxygenated water to get in there, which makes it easier for the shad to stay in there. And then the bass, they like to be shallow when they're ambushing bait because they can pin the bait on the top of the water or pin the bait on the bottom. They're not trying to chase those fish around, especially the big ones in there. So let's see here. One other thing that I'd say is very important when we're talking about this period is planning our day. We want to plan what we're going to do. So for me, when I'm going out fun fishing or I'm going to fish a little local tournament, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to one of these places where all these fish are at, and I'm going to use one of the techniques that we've got in these other previous videos and the videos to come that are really sneaky that no one else is doing, in order to draw as many bites as I can, weed through and get the big fish. The next thing that I'm going to do is I've already, done everything there and I'm going through a dead period. Well, think about what you can do during that period. So say you've got an area of the lake. Let's go to Google Earth here. Again, this is Bear Branch. Let's say we're in an area of the lake that has a lot of grass. We'll zoom in here. See all that grass right there? That's when I'm going to go and punch. Say it's 10 o'clock now. I'm going to punch from 10 to 1:30, 2:30. Then I'm going to run back over here again, and I'm going to check this school real quick and see if they're doing anything. Sit there 15 minutes, cast around a little bit, see if I can get something going on, and then I'm going to go right back punching again if nothing happens there. And so it's just about maximizing your day. So you get the best of both worlds. You get to catch the numbers of fish and you get to go after the bigger fish, which to me is a winning tournament strategy, and it's just a winning fun day strategy as well. This whole time of year is about moving fast, moving deliberately, and making the most of everything that you possibly can. So you got to have the right gear. Everything's got to be dialed in, and it's really a time of the year that most of the time I'm dropping way down. I'm going to my medium lights, my ultra lights. I'm going to anywhere from 8 to 4 pound test with different techniques, and just getting out there and getting those fish to commit that won't commit to 95, 99% of other anglers there. All right. So what these fish will eventually do, what'll happen, so as that water starts to fall a little bit and as we start to push into the later parts of September, what I'll notice, as soon as I stop seeing fish at these mouths, the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm not going to go running back in a major creek. I'm not going to pick a creek like Sail Creek and try to figure out where these fish went to. I'm going to let those fish go on back, and they're going to find where they're going to decide to be. And I'll wait until they get there, and I'll catch them then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to big main lake pockets. So here's one, that's a good example right here. Let's see. A slinger, right below 60 Bridge there. Big main lake pockets. Hopefully they've got a little bit of water flowing into the back, but these smaller creeks is bread and butter. So here's a Bear Branch. Some people call it Dry Creek. It just depends. See, it's Dry Branch or Bear Branch. I don't know. This one's kind of weird, but in a creek like this, if they leave my point and they're not schooling over there anymore, it's really easy to find those fish again because their transition is overnight half the time from where they're at the mouth of it to the back of it. And then they're easy to catch in the back. So I'm not going to waste my time in a major creek. There's no point in doing that. We go over here, Eldridge, another good example. Small creek. We don't have a whole lot of options for the fish. So when a good portion of those fish move off that, if I'm not getting bit out here, I'm going to go straight back here. I'm going to hit this road bed. I'm going to hit this saddle, going into this pond back here. I'm going to go back over here and hit the ends of these flats. And those fish, they're still in that phase where they're going to show themselves. This is a great time of year, especially, I don't know what the reason is, but later afternoon, the fish seem to show themselves more than they do in the morning time. So this is a great time of year if you're practicing for a tournament. I know a lot of guys, they're going to want to practice, right, safe light to weigh-in time. But this is a great time of year to go out there that late period of the day, the late afternoon, and you can, in a couple hours, you can discover so many fish and so much activity in a section of the lake if you're willing to go do that real quick. Then you can go back the next day, and even if they're not busting as much, you still know where the fish are and you got a chance. That's just the main thing I wanted to talk about here when we're talking about fall transition. It doesn't have to be difficult. You can get tons of bites. I mean, I've got videos that you guys have seen on here, and they're on my channel where Cole and I, Cole Sands, we've gone out and had 60, 70 fish days this time of year. And then a lot of times, a tougher day is 20, 30 fish. So it doesn't have to be the way it is in your brain. And I know every lake's different, but we're talking specifically about the area in the southeast around here. And this couple months here, if you're willing to think outside the box, you can be super, super successful. And just stay tuned. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to this scene. Y'all stay tuned. So I'm going to be posting a bunch more videos related to these specific, like, sneaky baits. Again, the sneaky stuff, the stuff that's going to be getting you those bites that no one else is getting. So get on here, pay attention to the videos. I'm going to try to post them just about every day if I can. And I hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing so far. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I'll do my best to answer. I'm pretty good about getting back on that kind of stuff. But subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I hope this week finds you out on the water, and I'll catch you there.